Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating and, frankly, kind of a brutal truth from our source material on the architecture of irreplaceability. You know, it's just human nature to want to build a cozy, predictable routine and just stay there. But the source makes a super compelling case that staying comfortable, well, that might actually be the absolute most dangerous thing you can do for your future.
Think about this for a second. What if someone is quietly replacing you? Yeah, it's a completely jarring, super uncomfortable thought, right? One that we all push to the back of our minds. Every single day we wake up assuming, hey, I've got plenty of time. But while we delay, while we get distracted by the endless noise of modern life and just waste hours scrolling, the world is rapidly shifting gears. Somewhere out there, someone else is actively preparing to take your place. And you know the most terrifying part of this whole reality? You won't even realize it's happening until it's already too late.
So, let's dive into Section 1, the illusion of time.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to look at the absolute biggest trap we fall into every single day. It's this baseline assumption that we just have an endless runway to improve ourselves. But here's the reality check. Time moves silently. The world is changing so much faster than our brains are even wired to handle. I mean, we're seeing skills evolve at lightning speed, entire industries pivoting literally overnight, and attention spans practically collapsing. If you refuse to adapt, if you just keep doing what you did 5 years ago, you're going to slowly become irrelevant without even feeling the ground shift beneath your feet. Life heavily rewards evolution, and it very quickly forgets those who simply choose to stay comfortable.
The source material actually pins down the core of this procrastination perfectly with this thought: tomorrow is the favorite lie of unsuccessful people. We do this all the time, right? We constantly bargain with ourselves, completely convinced that tomorrow is when the real hard work will finally happen. Tomorrow I'll start learning that new software, tomorrow I'll update my resume, tomorrow I'll pitch that idea. And why do we do this? Well, promising to do it tomorrow gives us this instant emotional reward. We feel productive today without requiring a single ounce of actual effort. But it's exactly inside that comfortable little lie that entire years, and sometimes entire careers, just disappear.
Let's uncover exactly why this happens in Section 2, the psychology of comfort.
To really get this, we need to look at how our human brains are actually wired, bringing us to what's called the comfort trap. Psychologically speaking, your brain is kind of your own worst enemy when it comes to personal and professional growth. It actively hates change. In fact, its primary biological goal is to seek familiarity, routine, and safety purely to conserve energy. When things are predictable, your brain just gets to run on autopilot. And this deep-seated psychological tendency, it's exactly why we so often ignore massive, glaring warning signs in our careers until reality hits us like a freight train. We just naturally prefer the comfort of a failing routine over the total uncertainty of a new challenge.
And that brings us to the ultimate paradox of comfort. On the surface, comfort feels incredibly safe. It wraps you in this warm, cozy illusion of absolute security, whispering that you've made it and you can finally just coast. But right beneath that surface, comfort is slowly and systematically making you weak. It's silently eroding your resilience, it's dulling your sharpest skills, and it's stripping away your competitive edge while you basically sleepwalk through your daily routine. It's wild, but the very thing that makes you feel protected is exactly what's making you totally vulnerable to being replaced.
Once you surrender to that false sense of security, a very predictable, vicious cycle kicks off. First, you stop learning new things because, well, you feel like you already know enough to get by. And because you've stopped learning, you inevitably stop improving. You just hit a total plateau. Finally, you stop challenging yourself altogether. You avoid the hard projects, you stick to the easy wins, and you just coast. And the inevitable result at the absolute end of that conveyor belt? You become entirely replaceable. The unique, undeniable value you once brought to the table completely fades away.
Which brings us to a tough pill to swallow. Section 3, the harsh reality.
We really have to confront what actually happens when you stay the exact same while the world keeps moving right past you. Right now, we're witnessing this massive, fundamental shift in power, a complete inversion of success. We are seeing the rise of the adaptable average. These are folks who maybe didn't start with the most natural gifts or the highest IQs, but they relentlessly learned how to pivot, adapt, and just plain outwork everyone else, making themselves completely extraordinary in the process. Conversely, we're seeing the complacent talented falling behind. These are naturally gifted individuals who just leaned on their raw talent way too long. Because, spoiler alert, natural talent without relentless discipline definitely has an expiration date. And realizing you wasted your potential while someone else outworked you, man, that is a regret that is incredibly hard to live with.
The source material is completely unyielding on this next point, and yeah, it's brutal. Nobody owes you a future. Absolutely nobody.
Nobody owes you relevance, nobody owes you a promotion, and nobody owes you a paycheck just because you showed up and did what was asked of you yesterday. If you stop growing, the world simply moves on without you. The market, the economy, your industry, they have absolutely zero mercy for replaceable people. It's a really harsh truth, but honestly, internalizing it is also incredibly freeing.
Just take a second to think about the competition out there right now. Somewhere, there is someone younger, faster, and smarter than you. But more importantly, there is someone hungrier and far more disciplined. There's always someone out there possessing the exact traits and skills you are currently neglecting. Someone who's willing to put in the grueling, unglamorous work that you might be actively avoiding. If you are just resting on your past achievements, you're basically handing your future over to someone who is literally working late into the night to take it from you.
So how do we fix this? Let's get into Section 4, Becoming Irreplaceable.
Now, if everything we've covered so far scared you a little bit, the source notes that's actually a really good thing. Fear is an incredibly powerful, highly effective tool to wake us up from mental laziness and complacency. Because every single day, you face a stark, unavoidable choice. There is no middle ground anymore. You literally can't just pause the game. You're either actively choosing to evolve and push your boundaries, or you're quietly sliding into irrelevance. The people who recognize this binary reality early on, they compound a massive advantage that the rest of the pack can never, ever recover from. They make growth a daily habit, not just a panic response.
To actually build this architecture of irreplaceability, the source outlines a super clear, actionable path. First, you have to completely discard that tomorrow lie. Act today. Do the difficult thing right now, even if it's literally just for 10 minutes. Second, you've got to choose growth before the pain of irrelevance chooses it for you. Don't wait for a crisis, like losing a job or some major industry shift, to force your hand. Proactively seek out the friction. And finally, turn your newfound awareness into immediate, disciplined action. Because just understanding this reality without fundamentally changing your behavior, that changes absolutely nothing. You've got to be willing to execute.
As we wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative question to ask yourself. Are your current daily habits actively preparing you for the future, or are they silently destroying your chances? Look really closely at what you did today and what you plan to do tomorrow. It's a heavy question for sure, and it is not an easy one to face, but answering it honestly right now in this very moment is the absolute crucial first step toward making yourself truly irreplaceable.